Thanks for joining me. This is Danny Cardwell from ThoughtWrestler.blogspot.com. And in light of everything happening in Ferguson, Missouri and around the country, I just want to take this time and focus on a few things of note that I thought were very important. One is the importance of language in situations like these where you have protest, riots, and it would seem like it's a non-essential point, but language is very important. The frames in which we understand the world, the frames in which we communicate with each other. The use of language is very important because the way we label situations can cause a visceral reaction inside of people. Found a couple pictures that were posted online of different riots after sporting events inside this country, and they ranged from the 2007 Boston Red Sox World Series victory to the University of Kentucky's national championship loss by the Duke Blue Devils to North Carolina, I believe, and there were losses in Vancouver, the Stanley Cup. And in each of those situations, personal property was damaged, there were arrests, the public safety was put at risk, and in each of those instances I went back and watched several videos on YouTube. You can find everything on YouTube. But I watched several videos, and none of these people were referred to as animals or savages. And yet, less than 24 hours after the grand jury's verdict, which acquitted Officer Wilson of any wrongdoing, the riots, which I do not condone, the damage of personal property and the willful acts by some to engage in lawlessness. But those same protesters were referred to as animals and savages several times during the day, already less than 24 hours. And it would seem like a nitpicking thing, but the fact of the matter is that matters. The way in which we speak about these situations matter. It's often said, and I've seen it several places, when an Arab American commits a crime, it's terrorism. It's a terror cell from within. When blacks commit a crime, it's a breakdown of the family unit and morality. And when we see these white kids shoot up schools or movie theaters or what have you, it's often described as, well, this is one disturbed individual, as if that person's actions are so far beyond the norm that it had to be something wrong with him, whereas we immediately ascribe systemic breakdowns to the actions of minorities in this country. And like again, I said, that seems like it's a small point, but it's very important in how narratives are crafted. And if I'm honest, I think the real big winners last night were the media outlets. They got what they wanted. They wanted a show. They wanted something that could bring in ratings, that could hold viewers, that would set up nicely for this night and the next few nights, and they've got it. Folks will be tuned into these 24-hour news outlets to see what happens next. And this isn't some grand conspiratorial talk. I'm not saying that the release of the grand jury's findings at such a late hour was something that was a conspiracy and was set in place in order to provide this kind of atmosphere, but the media enjoyed this. They won. They were the winners. And although several members of the media were at risk, put themselves in harm's way by being out and exposed, that risk is part of the job. It's like being embedded with combat troops. And the fact that so many protesters, and I want to specify, like, there were protesters that have been there on the ground the whole time. Then there were protesters who showed up to do exactly what they did. And so to weed those two out and to not lump the peaceful protesters in with those who were doing the looting and the pillaging, to separate the two, but, they got what they wanted. There was no doubt in the network's minds that they would run with anything that happened, and thank God for them, something did happen. They had something to report, something to draw ratings in. And this matters because the perpetuation of black life and black men and black males as being animals and savages, and then to give them the imagery necessary to tie that doctrine with a real life reaction is something that is it makes for good TV. And so in this time, I just hope that the people of Ferguson, Missouri will do a little bit better job of policing their own in a way that the police can't. You know, if you know that your little cousin or your son or someone's going to go out, just stop them. You know, stop them. This isn't necessary. Getting a new iPhone or a new pair of Jordans or getting a couple bottles of gin is not worth what's happening right now. And as long as we keep these images alive, it's that much easier to denigrate black life. The last point I want to talk about is this notion that I've seen off and on today in the media that somehow there are these mythical black leaders that could have prevented this. That plays to the most base of stereotypes about people. The idea that someone could step forward and tell someone that was out on the street to go home and they would have listened is ridiculous. The idea that, you know, somehow the president benefited from this and was somewhere cheerleading and wanting this to happen is completely ridiculous. No one wants to see chaos in the street. No reasonable person wants that. And it's disingenuous to say that somehow, whether it be Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, would have a stranglehold on this situation, that they would be able to tamp this down and make someone listen to them. Is just, it's a, I don't know, it's a monochromatic view of the world. There's not a set of leaders or one or two people that can stop someone intent on looting to not to do it. And so those are my thoughts. I'll be writing about this, I'm sure, soon. Thanks for all your support. Peace.